Great. Hello, everyone. Great to see everyone here today. I'm excited to be on LinkedIn Live talking to you about advancing our careers, about owning our careers, and what we at Verizon are doing to bring this forward. So, what I want to do is talk about how, one, of course, we will own our careers. Of course, we as individuals want that accountability and responsibility, and we take it seriously. But I'm also going to tell you where I think companies have an obligation to step up and how we need to help our employees navigate what that looks like so that they can take the right steps. So we're going to talk for a little while here. We're going to have it open for Q&A. Your questions are going to be the heart of this chat here for the next 30 minutes. So I really do welcome anything you want to bring forward, and everything is on the table. But let me talk with a little bit of background, tell you a little bit about my career first. And what we know happens in corporate America, in small, medium, and large companies. So first of all, in most companies, specifically larger ones, it's really difficult, sometimes impossible, to easily see all the jobs that are in the taxonomy, in the realm of what we can do with our career. And so while most of us, again, are super willing to be accountable for our own development, we don't always have a clear view into what are we developing for? What are our options? So let me talk you a little bit through my career. And I promise you, had I had the visibility, maybe I would have gotten to where I am sooner. Maybe I would have chosen a different path. But I'll start way back when. So, where did my career really start? I would actually say it started when I was 10 and started babysitting. I've always had this insane kind of work ethic, making my way. How do I get accessibility to drive things forward? But then really, I'm the oldest of 7 kids. So that explains a lot right there. I started working when I was 13 in the summers, grew up in Michigan, and I did corn detasseling. So points to anybody who knows what that job actually is. And then when I was in high school, I was a 3-sport athlete. I worked every single weekend in local restaurant, busing by waiting tables. In college, again, you can see it kind of continued. Worked 2 jobs. I was a receptionist in the provost office. I also worked weekends waiting tables. And I say that I do think that kind of builds skills and experiences. I learned customer service. I learned how to work with my peers, effective communication. So a lot of people say, oh, I can't start my resume until I've started that formal job, right? That first formal job. And I would argue you've been gathering skills and experiences all your life. So one, that's my first tip, is don't forget about what makes you you. And these strengths are truly what build to our advantages in our career advancement. But then we'll talk about real work. So when I got my first real job at 21, I went into finance and accounting because I knew I needed to break the cycle, and I wanted to get a degree. I wanted to go to college. I wanted to have a real job. And I thought the only job I thought you could do that was with something with a finance degree. And so I went after that. I started in accounting. And for 7 straight years, I worked under the umbrella of JP Morgan Chase. So through different acquisitions, I got to there. And 7 straight years, I worked in finance, accounting, trade operations. It went really well. I got promoted quickly, 4 different roles in that 7 years. I lived in 6 different states, 2 different countries. And it was fantastic. But then as life goes, right, met a guy, moved to be with said guy, got a job in a new location. And then for the next quite a while, right, I posted for a new job. I ended up at American Express. Again, I went in through accounting and did this role. And this is where things started to change for my career. I was with American Express for 15 years, fantastic experience, and just really brilliant way to build my career. And there I had the opportunity to work in 4 different business units. So in those 15 years, I worked in banking, I worked in compliance, I was in the finance organization, in HR. And once I got to HR, which I firmly believe was always meant to be the path for me, I've continued to kind of evaluate into what does that look like? How do I look at the careers? What are those jobs available in those spaces? And now I've been with Verizon for 7 months, and it's been a tremendous experience. And I find myself thinking about how my career got to where it was, how did I get those different visibilities, those different taps on the shoulders to manage my career in that way? And so what I would say was one, what worked for me was constantly saying yes, right? New projects, new exposure, things that were outside of my comfort zone, truly pushing myself, right? Having really been in finance and accounting, what would it look like somewhere else? And I was constantly curious. So I would say also add networking with purpose. And so please note, I didn't just say like go out and meet everyone and throw a bunch of intro meetings on calendars. Though it is an amazing thing to do, it's even better when you can network with purpose. I promise you that something in your job, something that you can offer is valuable to everybody. And, we always get a little bit of a negative connotation around like, oh, it's who you know. That's not a bad thing. It is not a bad thing to have people know you. There's confidence and trust that comes with it. So continue carrying that out. I would also say lead with your strengths and energy. And that was something that I kind of have learned in the more second half of my career so far, is your energy tells you a lot about what is driving you, what gives you passion, what gives you excitement in those jobs and those roles. And it's amazing. It really will guide you to like being your best self and enjoying the work that you do. So I tell you a little bit about that. My career, certainly it has been all over the place, a couple of different companies, different functions, different business units, different roles. And what I do think would have helped me tremendously is transparency. So I do think that, companies, we have an obligation to provide transparency to our employees on what are the jobs out there. This is where what we have done at Verizon, we've launched Talent GPS. I could not be more excited about Talent GPS, but let me tell you a little bit about what this is. So most companies have a job structure, a job hierarchy or taxonomy, if you will. And this is all the different roles that every company has. Most companies, this grows over time. It's really hard to keep it contained, to keep it controlled. For example, a company with 50,000 employees could have 25,000 different job codes. That makes it really difficult to navigate. So as an employee or as a people leader, how do you know what job? What are the different paths? What are the different options? And I don't think that companies have done a great job because of the complexity in solving for this. So right now, we have just launched Talent GPS. This is a structure, a categorizing, if you will, of every single job that we have at Verizon. So someone has said to me once, and I love this, we are a company of over 130,000 different opportunities. And now I am so pleased to say that I can actually give you insight into every single one of those opportunities. So let me back up a little bit and talk about Talent GPS, and we'll switch to a slide. And let me show you on this next view here, what does it mean? So certainly there's kind of this at the center, this categorization. But then what is it? What is the magic that it's unlocking for our employees, for our managers, and for Verizon at large? So I'll step into each one of these, but let me first tell you where we're at. Step one, which we just did, is in launching. It isn't necessarily like the most glamorous thing, right? We said, oh, we now have you categorized. We now have all of our jobs categorized. But it is a crazy important step. And in fact, I will say it's really complicated. And it's why most companies actually don't get to it. Because think about remodeling a room in your house. You want to remodel your bathroom. And it's totally livable. It's functional. But it's not functioning the way you want. It's not functioning in the most efficient, effective way. So we gut it, right? And right now what we've done is we've gutted it. We've gutted our job hierarchy and we've replaced it. We now have the framing up, the walls up, the flooring is back. What step two is, okay, now how do we choose the really cool stuff? The countertops, the fixtures, all this fun stuff. And that's what brings it to life for all of us. That's kind of where we're at with Talent GPS. But a couple of things that are super exciting on what you can do now and what's coming in the future. So first, let me start with, as an employee, why do you care? How are we going to be empowering your career? So I'll flip to the next slide and I'll focus there for just a second and let me bring to light, what does it mean? What does it mean for you? So as an employee, we now have transparency to what I was saying, all of those career opportunities. We are going to, in the system, you can go ahead and you can look at a system categorization. And I use that word really succinctly because your business title, what you use in LinkedIn, what you use in your signature on your email, that is still your business title. But for us to be able to show you careers and how you can path to many different ways using your existing skills and proper development planning, the realm of possibilities of where you can go. So we now have this ability to go into our internal systems, type in the role that you see in the system, and you can look at a myriad of all the other roles that are just like yours. And now we've provided visibility to like, oh my gosh, there are these roles in different business groups, in different areas, in different geographies that I have the capability to do. So we're now at this step where we're providing visibility using your existing thing on how you can actually move, monitor, network, and with purpose in the right way to find out about those other jobs. It sounds so small, but it's a massive step that doesn't exist many places. And so it truly is an enviable first round that is no small feat. And then you think about the expanded career opportunities. So as an employee, we're constantly thinking about, and we're really development focused. We have a learning culture. We want to drive what those actions are. We now have the ability to look as in our next phase, a role profile for every single one of those roles that we're talking about. So you'll be able to see what is the description of that job? What are the experiences that you need? What are the skills required for that job to be successful? And now we can say, hey, if this is my path, these are the next roles that I really aspire to attain. You can now build a development plan because you see the specific skills that are required for that job. And now your development plan becomes really intentional, right? It's no more of like, oh, I heard feedback that I should work on my effective communication or my written skills or gaining exposure. Like now it's really tactical in terms of, no, I know the role that I want, and I know the 3 skills that I haven't had the opportunity to develop yet. And now you can go into things like our amazing learning portal. You can go and leverage things like LinkedIn Learning, and you can build the skills through the training that you drive on your own. So I think this is an amazing, amazing thing for our employees. The visibility, the transparency, and the ability to action is tremendous. So let's go over to our next step and why would a people leader care? What is my manager going to do with this information? How are they going to help me? Well, in the same realm that we now have personal accountability and visibility to action things, so does your leader. Now think about mid-year conversations are coming up, right? How do you have the conversation now with real facts and data to say, I have the transparency, here's the job I want. As a leader, I say, that's amazing. Now I know how to help you. I know exactly what you're looking for. And when we have specifics like that, as we all know, actions are so much more tremendously powerful with the ability to move forward. So they can tailor their support for you. They can help you with what are those skills? Who are the other leaders that are supporting those roles that you have ambitions and aspirations to achieve and move into? And now we're actually thinking about the ability to network, again, in a purposeful, intentional way with the people who have those roles, your leaders helping you with the development and the skills that you need. It opens the doors to what I talked about earlier, say yes to projects. Now your projects are actually linked into that visibility. So this notion of us moving through jungle gyms, through ladders in our career and having our leaders support, we just open the doors to transparency. I would also say one more benefit to a hiring leader is for those of you out there, picture this with a talent GPS. We now have the ability to look across the entire company, not within one business group, which is where we have tended to have visibility to in the past. We can now look across and say, what is a job that you're filling? Let me actually pull an entire talent pool through data that shows you all the people in the company that are qualified for this job. Our ability to actually see and leverage our amazing internal talent is now like just bursts with opportunity. We're going to be able to maximize all of the ability for us to say, we know we have great people inside. And now I can tell you exactly who all of them are. So this is one way for leaders. I think that's just going to be crazy powerful and amazing thing. The last piece I'll talk about is, what does it mean for an organization? So as a head of talent, why do I care? As the organization, what is it unlocking for us in the future? And there's a few things here. Certainly, I now have the ability to link up things like strategic workforce planning and say, what do we think that our future needs for skills, for roles? How do we link it to our business strategy, and where do we need to build our talent? We now invest in the development areas that we want to focus on our talent for the future. So not only can we as an organization say, hey, where are we really strong? Where do we have gaps? We're now building this internally constantly without the need to say, oh gosh, we need to go external to find talent because we just don't have those skills or capabilities inside. We're going to have them. We're going to have visibility. We're going to be able to proactively plan. And again, just the same thing, like we can actually cross-pollinate talent. We can start to build adjacent skills ahead of time to say, wow, if you want to get into marketing and you're in communications today, like we can start to build these pools. So I think this is going to be just tremendous. Like I said, it is no small feat to establish and create and implement a job hierarchy, but the ability for us to do this in our systems, to integrate it with development, to integrate it with learning, to think about what it means for your own career planning, and for you to be able to express that ambition very clearly for what role you want, not only in a conversation with your leader, but in the system. I mean, this is what I get excited about when I think about the future of talent is I don't have to know you. I now know 135,000 people because I'm able to see all of this information in the system, and so is everybody else. And so that's what I think Talent GPS is all about. I think it's the right infrastructure. I think it is the transparency, not only to people in HR, but to every single one of our employees, and keeping that ability really true and really open. So I'm going to pause. We definitely want to hear your questions. Anything is on the table. For what we're doing, whether it's about my own career, conversations or questions about your career. And I'll answer a few questions here. So I just saw a question come in around, well, is it okay to jump between departments and jobs? So first of all, I would say I did, as I explained kind of like what my career was. Not only was it departments and jobs, but like business units and functions. And I would say not only is it okay, it is exactly what we want. So there is no greater asset. Everyone hears this, but I promise it's not just cliche to say like a company's greatest asset is their people. There's no greater power than me be able to have what I would call athletes, athlete talent that we can move anywhere. One, it actually makes your ability to continue to grow and advance when you've had experience in these different areas. Not only is it amazing for you, but I promise you it is amazing for the company. So the visibility with GPS will actually now allow you to see what are all the different departments? What are all the different families that we have of jobs and the roles within them? So that would be amazing. Someone just asked as well, is Talent GPS for associates? Lots of tools are not available. This is. So you can go in the system today and see what is the categorization. And as we continue to roll out profiles and the additional phases of this project, they'll all be available. How do you think about the development and the learning as well? Another question here is, will there be checks to make sure hiring managers are sticking to internal candidates rather than going outside? So as I mentioned, there's actually advantages to both. So to be very transparent with all of you, as someone who runs our recruiting practices, there really are advantages to both. But the ability for us to say, what do we want to do? Our desire is absolutely to build from within. In fact, it will be a corporate advantage for us to continue to build from within. And by far and large, the majority of our jobs are filled are filled from within, and we want to continue that. And that's where this deep focus of development comes, so that we're constantly readying our amazing people for new opportunities and for jobs of the future. There's a great question here on, what do you think about staying with the same company for your entire career? It's interesting, right? Because we see all the data and we read all the articles, how most people don't anymore. I love it. There is nothing that I love more. And by the way, I've been here 7 months, and I have heard so many V-teamers come up and say, well, yeah, I've been here for 25 years. I actually had someone in my group the other day who I wrote them a note and said, congrats, I'm 40 years with this company. I mean, how cool is that? How amazing is it to say, like, this loyalty, the expertise, the knowledge and experience that you have for our company? Oh my God, you are crazy valuable. So I actually see nothing wrong with staying with one company for an entire year. In fact, or for your entire career. In fact, I would applaud that. And we need to figure out how to take continued advantage of that. You stay because it's a great place, because there's been great opportunities. And to circle back, right? Like, now we need to bring the visibility to, like, what are the 130,000 opportunities to continue to make you stay excited? So I love that question. And I love the idea of someone staying somewhere for their entire career. It says a lot about the place and the culture. Someone asked if there's any thoughts around creating VZ, Verizon specific career coaches that can help people, know what they're passionate about, but they aren't sure. So how do we think about those things? This is part of what I would call talent GPS, and where it becomes advantageous is certainly I like the idea of career coaches. So I'm going to note that as something to explore, and how could we do that at scale, and what would it look like? So noted. The other thing I would say is, one thing that we owe, that the companies should be accountable and responsible for, is, well, how do we make it possible for you to do that on your own? And so I think all the things that I was just saying about talent GPS, this is exactly what we are after. We want to make it so visible, so transparent, that, yeah, a coach is still an amazing idea, right? And something that we'll explore, but what about just giving you the ability to see it? So I do think this will be awesome. We'll have tools where you could actually put in skills and say, hey, these are the skills I have. What are the jobs that are out there? Can you imagine if the ability to kind of go in and do that and say, these are the experiences, these are the skills, boom, here's every single, profile of all the jobs that you would be qualified for today, and that you should explore, and it will give you more information about them. So definitely look into it, but think of it as like a virtual coach, right? In a real-time way. I think that's pretty powerful. I think that's pretty cool. Someone asked, how do we know if our current positions will align with other areas and are visible to those groups? So just sort of answered that, but in the coming months, we will actually have the systematic ability for you to do exactly that. So in a very intuitive and clean way, for you to be able to put in, here's places I'm interested in, here's skills that I have, here's maybe skills that I'll develop in the future, and the ability to come back and view, based on your input, the multitude of options that you would have to drive your own path, create your own road to your career. Someone just asked, what advice would you give someone trying to change careers? Depending where you're going, a couple of different thoughts. So is a career in a completely different industry, or it's a career within the same company, but you just want a new area, right? As I mentioned, maybe you're going from communications to marketing, or from sales into training. How do you think about those pieces? I would say the first piece of advice is network with purpose. Find people who are in those roles. Ask them about what is their day job, what are the skills they need to be successful. You can also, as we get ready to launch profiles, you'll see it there. But getting that real take is really valuable. And now that you can go in and search and find out what people are going to be doing, you can see who's in those jobs today. Connect with your V-teamers, find out more information. And I think is more that you empower yourself with those types of conversations and your own data points. It's going to allow you to then leverage that information, go into your learning, your development plans, and build it really robust and actionable, so that it gives you the needed skills and experiences to get to that next aspiration. Someone talked about like what steps can we do to get started today. I love it. I mentioned one that I think is really cool as we have this thing. And so, use search on VZ Web. Go look at what on your role profile, find what those pieces are, search for the roles. The other thing that we were really thoughtful about in doing this is we didn't want it to be just Verizon. We really find it important to know like what else is in the entire external marketplace. How did we create our role structures and job families so that it resonates, so that when we're going out there on anything else, job boards, etc., when we talk about these roles, they really have an external lens to them as well. And I think that's really important. So as you're talking about like what steps you can take today, understand about the roles, do your research, because I promise you the language will transfer as we talk about those things. And you can go ahead and look up, I want to get into project management, right? What are the roles? Do a search, go into our tools and find out what are the development things to build those skills as well. Someone talked about, I love this question, will employees categorize their skills along with their internal resumes? Yes, 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 yes. So one thing that we are working on right now is also an upgrade to our people systems. And we are each going to have profiles and we'll be able to actually track like what skills do we think we're bringing to the table? What skills are we working on? And we will be able to see that you have those skills, that you are categorizing those skills. And again, also with your internal resume. So data becomes so powerful in this story, as you can tell. It's how we're actually going to drive the connective tissue behind what you want, what you bring to us, the tremendous value that you have, and then how do we use that? How do we continue to maximize that, invest in you and grow? Someone talked about like, what are your thoughts reaching out to your desired group, doing job shadow opportunities, getting to know it? Huge fan, huge fan. So I talked about like find people in those roles and connect. And one thing I have definitely discovered here is that people love and to talk about what they do. There is such deep pride in the amazing work that we do that, if you find someone that is doing something, a desired group or a desired role that you have aspirations to do, absolutely reach out. Absolutely reach out. We love to talk about it. And, there's absolutely, whether it's job shadowing, whether it is like, having a meeting, an introductory meeting to just learn more about it, all of those things are valuable. And I would also say they have like multiple purposes that they would do. One is you're driving your learning, right? We're always learning about what these roles are, what we need in them, what drives success in them, where they're going for the future. But anytime we network, more people, we're getting exposed to those things. And, these are things, moments that we collect and that really do help us in the future. Someone said this, I might need tips as well. They said, there's tons of distractions out there. So how do you stay motivated? How do you stay focused? I'll speak for myself. I'm really big, as I mentioned, on my energy is where I know that I will be really productive and effective. So I do ask myself, like, what gives me energy? I try to do those things during my most productive times of the day and get those things done. And then I'm crazy meticulous about prioritization. And so because of exactly what you said, like we can get really distracted. Like I get lots of emails every day. And so I could get really distracted if all I did is answer my email, go through my email inbox and clear it out every single day. It certainly, attacks that. It's gonna get my email box down, everything else. But it probably wouldn't achieve the goals that I'm after. And so I do have my own time management. Where do I do those different activities? What are the priorities that I've got to get done that day? And so that's kind of my own tricks to my own time management. And then I track where I spend my time as well. Is it with my people? Is it doing transactional things? Is it driving some of the strategic outlook that we need and stakeholdering? Someone asked a question, does Talent GPS include aligning the same titles for employees doing the same job? For the most part, the answer is yes. I say that because, as I said earlier, it's really complicated work. So if we're taking all the different job codes that we had before and now we've streamlined it, again, think of it as the way to categorize in the system So we're taking the power of GPS is that we've now grouped like roles. So we may have called them different things, slightly different things from all over the company. And now we have the ability to say, yeah, but look at these jobs that are like yours. We've now opened the window for visibility into all these different jobs across the board and visibility into them. So that's exactly what we did. And I'll take one more question. I know we're up at time. Someone asked, will there eventually be a way to evaluate or monitor skills based on breadth, right? And depth. So how would you specialize in one career path? And the example was analytics. So first of all, love the example. So I'm going to go with the data analytics or data science role. This is such an exciting field, and what a great example, because think about something that has changed so much over the last decade and what's going to continue to evolve. So the skills that make a great analytics or data scientist today, I promise you are going to look different in 5 years. They're going to constantly evolve. And so as we do have those skills, part of my team's job here on talent, both on the learning and development side, as well as on the GPS, is we're constantly looking at that. What do we need for the future? How is it evolving? How do we come back to those people and make sure that we have given them the information on, hey, these are the future skills that you're going to need to continue to grow in this field? And the other cool thing about this example that you chose with analytics is analytics people sit in every single area of this business, every single business unit, every single group. It is a critical function that every team needs. We all need analytics and insights. And so this is what GPS does. And I'll end on this note because it's such a great example. GPS brings the skills in that role and shows you all the jobs across the company in which are now at your fingertips. You now own your career to say, I have these skills, and these are the 100 roles that I could possibly go into. And learn new things, learn new businesses, learn new stakeholdering. It's the world is really open for us as we continue to expand, and we'll evolve. We'll continue to get your feedback on what we're looking at, how to continue to make it better, and how we continue to integrate and build amazing careers for all of our B-teamers. So thank you, everyone. It's been really fun being with you for the last 30 minutes, and more to come on the exciting of Talent GPS. Have a great day.